This is a series of 100 films about Japanese foods that I've eaten, and this is a film about raw fish gone wild. Let's talk about reverse culture shock, or in my case, reverse sushi shock. When I got back to Canada, I used to stare in awe at how large people's backyards were, and the portion sizes in restaurants and grocery stores. But nothing prepared me for the sushi back home. The moment I saw it, I could only ask myself, was it even sushi, or was it just stuff rolled in rice? Nanme-sama. And a lot of the sushi had carrots or cucumbers or tempura in it. Mentaiko mayo became helmets with sriracha sauce. Sometimes the rice was on the wrong side. I mean, if you don't like fish, why would you eat sushi? Everything seemed like an attempt to hide the seafood part away. Nanme-sama. Now, even in Japan, they put some weird things in sushi, but before talking about that, I'd like to give our sushi some context. I want to talk about the different grades of sushi you'll find in Japan. Nanme-sama. There are three main categories of sushi: supermarket, rotating, and restaurant. Now, the first kind is the supermarket sushi. It's usually the cheapest, so often the lowest quality, since you don't really know how long ago it was prepared, and the fish loses flavor the longer it's been out of the water. Supermarket sushi is largely lacking in taste for that reason. There are exceptions, the sushi from high-end department stores, for example, but it's usually no better than what you get in North American grocery stores. Now, the next level up is rotating sushi, or kaiten sushi. Now, this sushi is prepared by chefs, then placed on a conveyor belt. Customers choose the dish of their choice. Each plate is color-coded by price, and it's usually cheap enough to feed the whole family. But you have to be careful. Even in Tokyo, some of them are amazing, and some aren't amazing at all. Then you have the sushi restaurant, where everything is ordered off the menu, prepared for each customer individually. This kind of restaurant falls into three broad categories of its own. At the lower end are large restaurants. These are often local chains. They often offer efficient service for about $40 per person. Some are great, but not all. Towards the $60 to $70 range, you find owner-operators, often the sole employee, and they have excellent knowledge of fish, since most honed their skills in larger establishments. Service can be slow, but worth it. And then you have restaurants that you need a membership to dine at, and they usually have 3 to 5 seats, and meals range from $100 to $300 per person. Now, I've been told on great authority that any sushi meal costing more than $100 probably isn't worth it. Above that, you're mostly paying for atmosphere or prestige. So that's the basics, but what about the weird stuff? Well, let's veer completely off topic while I tell you about the weirdest sushis I've ever eaten. They are so far out from traditional sushi, I really felt they needed their own list. I call my list Wacky or Wonderful 7 Kinds of Sushi You Need to Know. Number 7. Bacon and egg sushi. Now, I saw this at a rotating restaurant in Susukino, that's the red light district in Sapporo, the largest city in the northern island of Hokkaido. I'd seen something like this before in an onigiri, the rice balls sold in convenience stores. Literally, the Susukino rice was topped with egg, then bacon, held together with a band of nori, the black seaweed paper. Very filling and no fish. Number 6, the California roll, or the sushi that doesn't contain fish. Now, this is a Canadian food invented by a Japanese guy named after a state in America. Despite being Canada's major contribution to Asian cuisine, it is nearly impossible to find in Japan. Except for that one time I was in the kaiten sushi place in Shibuya, a middle-aged Japanese guy walked in and ordered a California roll. I didn't stick around to check, but I'm pretty sure they made it for him. Number 5, tempura sushi. Now, I only saw this once in Japan at a chain called Bikuri Sushi. In English, Bikuri Sushi means surprise sushi. And the surprise that night was shrimp deep fried in tempura batter, rolled in a circle of rice held together with nori. Very, very rare. Usually the fish is raw, right? Number 4, carrot sushi. This is the one they brought over from Korea. It's easy to find in convenience stores since it doesn't spoil so easy. Sometimes it has yellow pickles instead of carrots. For the record, I've never seen it in a proper sushi restaurant. Number 3, corn salad sushi. Even the strictest kaiten sushi will struggle to keep this off their menu because it's cheap and filling, and people like it. What is corn salad, you might ask? Well, think tuna salad, but with corn, and usually it's no more than $1 for 2 pieces. Number 2, lobster sushi. It's very expensive, $5 for a single piece. I grew up in Nova Scotia with lots of lobster around, so it wasn't that strange to me. But it's hard to find. If not available, try the snow crab from Fukui Prefecture. They call it zuagani. It's very sweet and very good. And finally, the craziest sushi of them all. That's right, you guessed it, number 1, aburi sushi. Or as I frequently refer to it, blowtorch sushi. They put the piece of sushi together, but before they serve it, they run a blowtorch over the raw fish. With salmon, it tastes amazing, especially after topped with mayonnaise or green onions. You don't want to overpay for it. I mean, they are cooking part of it for you, but the texture is a nice break from regular sushi. The word of the day. The word of the day is nanmei-sama. It means how many people in honorific Japanese. So unless you become a host at the Yokohama TGI Fridays, it's unlikely you'll ever say this, but you will be asked it every time you enter a restaurant in Japan. No need to respond in words, just use your fingers to indicate. Unless you've got a big group, then you might ask the waitstaff for a pen and a piece of paper. And as always, feel free to watch this film 10 more times and repeat along with me, or at least that's what I do. Next time. So that's it until next time when we look at a wintertime food that appears to be made of styrofoam and rubber, but which Japanese people can't get enough of. So until then, sayonara.